Every year, Toyota has been adding more and more hybrid options to their lineup, and finally, it has arrived at the very top of the tree with the Land Cruiser 300 series. And for many, this was really just a matter of time. Last year, Toyota, of course, announced that they were going to be ditching traditional combustion engines for its passenger vehicle and SUV lineup, and slowly it's been trickling its way into 4x4 territory with a 48-volt system available for the Prado and also the Hilux, all in the name of trimming down emissions and also fuel consumption. But is that the purpose of this vehicle? Well, not specifically. See, the 300 series is classified as a performance hybrid in Toyota's books. This drivetrain is classified as the iForce Max system in the United States, but that name is not coming here, not for this vehicle at least. It's arriving in the first half of 2026, and it is going to arrive with a bit of a bang because this is not going to be a super cheap vehicle. It is going to be more expensive than the diesel, and it's only going to be available in two grades. The very top spec Sahara ZX and also the GR Sport, and only in a 5-seat mode. That hybrid system has to go somewhere, I'm afraid. Now, if you're wondering why I'm in a shed, it's because this is a very special shed. I am at Toyota's Centre of Excellence in Altona, and this is a pre-production vehicle. A lot of the fun facts and figures that I'd love to talk about are unfortunately still under wraps, but I'm going to give you my best educated guesses and tell you if this is a vehicle worth getting excited about. My name's Tom Place, this is Chasing Cars. We've got a lot to cover, let's jump into it. Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car. Brought to you by Budget Direct. This drivetrain is not new to Aussie buyers. It's already done duty for about a year now inside the Tundra full-size pickup that comes out of the United States. It's called the iForce Max system, and it essentially consists of a 3.5-litre petrol twin-turbo V6 engine coupled to an electric motor which sits between the main petrol motor and also the 10-speed automatic transmission. So notably, it's always going through a mechanical four-wheel drive system, which really differentiates it from Toyota's more traditional hybrid. And it's one of the reasons why they call this a performance hybrid, because the idea here is that this thing is about grunt rather than outright efficiency. Now, of course, some people aren't going to like the fact that this is a petrol motor instead of a diesel, and it doesn't really look like it's likely that we're going to see a combination of a diesel hybrid anytime soon. Now, in terms of outputs, we don't really know just yet. The Tundra, of course, has outputs of 326 kilowatts of power and 790 newton meters of torque. That's about 100 kilowatts and 100 newton meters on top of what the 3.3-litre twin-turbo V6 out of the current 300 series makes. So that certainly is a step in the right direction in terms of performance, but of course, real-world performance is another matter, and Toyota hasn't confirmed those figures as of yet. Some numbers out of Saudi Arabia and other places in the Middle East suggest that we might actually get even more power than that 326 kilowatts, so certainly something to keep an eye out for. We also do expect Lexus to come out with their own version of this from the LX called the LX700H. That may come in time, but one thing I do want to keep an eye out for on this engine when it finally reaches production stages is what fuel does it take, because the Tundra has 95 octane at a minimum, and that could be a bit of a turn-off for some buyers out there. While Toyota hasn't released any official fuel consumption figures for Australia as of yet, in Saudi Arabia, where specs have been released under their testing protocols, the hybrid looks to return 15% worse fuel consumption than the equivalent diesel variant sold in that market. If that difference is translated locally, buyers should expect the hybrid to return around 10.2 litres per 100 kilometres driven in combined conditions, up from the 8.9 litres per 100 kilometres given officially to our diesel model. Another concern is fuel tank size, as in Saudi Arabia, the 300 series hybrid is given just a 68-litre petrol fuel tank. Based on our calculations, this means the hybrid could have a range almost half that of our diesel model, with roughly 660 kilometres of range versus over 1,200 kilometres in the current diesel. Hopefully, Toyota Australia opts to upgrade the tank size of the hybrid for our market, as it did with the diesel variant by boosting it from 80 to 110 litres in size. But this official B-roll clip from Toyota of the expected driving range of this near production-ready Aussie-spec prototype vehicle with a mostly full tank shows a predicted range similar to our calculations, so perhaps not. The interior of this pre-production hybrid is essentially identical to the regular diesel version of the GR Sport, save for the boot, which appears to sit just a little bit higher than the diesel version thanks to the hybrid componentry sitting underneath. Even still, the compromise looks to be relatively minor and the fit and finish is solid. Certainly a lot better than what Toyota achieved with the new generation 7-seat Prado. Our first drive saw us bundled into the only hybrid 300 series Land Cruiser in the country, alongside a few other journalists, to drive a single lap of Toyota's on and off-road course, and this is what we learned. First time driving the LC300 hybrid, where better to start than with a 0 to 100. Yeah, that's all right. 790 newton meters of torque there. Certainly enough to get up and go. Of course, as we know, this platform really does just drive quite beautifully in a number of different circumstances. Just taking it nice and easy around this course though. Just a nice little pedestrian one at about 60 kilometers an hour. I think what's interesting is it's not really what you notice, it's more what you don't notice. It is just a little bit quieter. Of course, this being a petrol rather than a diesel, it's going to do that, but of course, at these lower speeds, the electric motor is also kicking in a little bit more. Yeah, very nice indeed. Still got that classic floatiness we love about the LC300, but still controlled nonetheless. Yeah, certainly drives a little bit different to a traditional Toyota hybrid system though, I will say that. All right, come around to an offset mogul here. We're just gonna cruise up this one completely silently, may I add. And just dip into the left-hand side, just in low range, of course. And just like any normal 300 series, it's not really trying. Far out. Yeah, engine's kicking in a bit more now as it gets a little more difficult up the hill. And up we go. Very impressive. And down we go. Same deal. Of course, we would be recuperating some form of energy right now, but most of that slowing down is of course being done by the brakes. Good to know you're saving some money though. We've just come round to a water crossing here. As we know, electricity and water don't really mix, but Toyota insists that they've sealed this one up pretty good, so let's see how that goes. About 600 mils worth of water in it at the moment. We're just gonna drop in nicely. There we go. Nice and easy. And well, the car's still working, so that's a good sign. And now just approaching some rocky little bits of terrain here. Real nasty stuff this, not the sort of stuff I'd want to put tyres I paid for over. But once again, I can't even hear the petrol engine working. Oddly comfortable though, I must say. So yeah, look, all in all, very interesting driving the LC300. Spent a lot of time in this vehicle in its diesel configuration, and I'm not really ready to say it's better, but it's certainly quieter, and it certainly can do everything that the diesel has done so far. Very interesting stuff. Our previous experience towing 4.5 tonnes with a Tundra hybrid suggests the electrically boosted 300 series should also be quite handy in those duties as well, with Toyota hinting strongly that the diesel's 3.5 tonne brake time capacity will be carried over for the Aussie market. Today has been a very short drive of what is a very exciting vehicle. It seems to be a little bit quieter and a little bit quicker than a regular diesel 300 series, and the diesel wasn't really lacking in either of those areas. We also like the sound of the promises that Toyota's making, the idea that electrification in this new drivetrain is just going to add to the experience rather than subtract in other areas. But really, that will be exposed through further testing and also the official facts and figures that Toyota presents. Critical things like payload capacity, fuel tank size, how far is this thing going to go, how fuel efficient is it in the real world. Those things are of course critically important, and we do need to find those out before we make an official judgment. But anyway, that brings a wrap to our pre-production drive of the 300 series Land Cruiser. What are your thoughts upon this vehicle? Would you snap one up over a diesel? Why not? Let me know in the comment section down below. But for now, that's all. Thank you for watching Chasing Cars.